What's up, ladies and gentlemen? All right, new segment kind of thing. We're sort of pumping a little bit more into the tires of my personal YouTube channel. I got a lot to say. I think you guys all kind of know that. So, premiering this, whatever the hell you want to call it. I called it Flake News. A lot of people kind of say, hey, Flake, fake news. Here we are. So, short form kind of stuff, just discussing a little bit of the day-to-day that goes on. And one of the things that I wanted to just bring up is that Pro Tour's around the corner. Flesh and Blood Pro Tour's around the corner. I just came out with an article that says what to expect, how to prepare for Pro Tour. Now, how to prepare is going to basically differ from whether you're participating, whether you're there as a casual, whether you're not there at all. I mean, there's preparing for Pro Tour in various different ways. But what I wanted to kind of dig into in this article, and I very much implore you to go and read it, because I put in multiple hours of work into this, okay? Fact. That is a fait accompli. But the most important aspect of it is that this is not just a tournament. And I think that a lot of people who are out there can kind of grasp what I'm saying here when I say that it's not just about crowning a champion, everybody goes home, we move on to the next. It's not about the cash prizes as much as it is about like a community celebration of what the game is and everybody together. And that's what really attracts me to these events and why I have them. And I don't want to say, circled on a calendar, but they're on a calendar. Because they are a gathering of family, friends, colleagues, allies, rivals is what I kind of, laid out there in the article. Now, the beautiful part about these tournaments is that there is this transcendent feeling of celebration that bleeds out from the events themselves. You'll have those standard fare of war stories and triumphs and, tribulations that you'll go through from doing the Swiss rounds, your 6 rounds of draft, all of the CC, the top 8 and whatnot. There's going to be a calling that's going to be run alongside of it, as well as a battle hardened. It's a big deal. It's a humongous $200,000 tournament. Like, this is not small potatoes, but there's so many people that are going to be going to compete and then bring all of that joy and all of that toil and effort to every other aspect surrounding the actual venue and the tournament and the pairings that go up. Because if you have ever been to one of these, it's all about the lobby in the hotel and the drafts. It's all about the where are we going for dinner, who's coming, what's going on. It's about how you try your best to fit 953 people into an Applebee's so that nobody is left behind. And that's the beautiful part about it. Now, they'll have the people who have their groups of friends that they go and they hang out with, and some prefer to have it low-key. I, myself, am just the type where I'm like, you know what, first person to ask me, I'm in there, and I don't worry about it. But that element is what is really drawing me to this particular tournament, and I've had the privilege of being able to go to a lot of smaller tournaments, Min-Max and Realm and Kayfabe, etc. Even the Goliath Gauntlet, doing that remotely, has really just hammered down the fact that the community aspect of competitive Flesh and Blood is really what attracts me and keeps me locked in. I've been involved in other games, such as, Gwent and Magic and Mythgard and Cards and plenty more. But this is the one that I truly feel that I want my finger on the pulse, even well beyond the culmination and the conclusion of one of these tournaments. I want to know about all the nitty-gritty, the behind the scenes, read between the lines, all of those events that occurred at the tournament. I love hearing these stories, the little minutia of what really comes together to make one greater thing, because frankly, the tournament itself is just, it's a greater than the sum of its parts. It's not just a Pro Tour calling and some side events. It's the gathering of the community and the stories that develop there. And I dig into, in the article at least, I talk about where lore is essentially parsed out from a community standpoint. You have the writers who are writing all about Wraith, the heroes, the different regions, and Volcor and the Emperor dying and this and that, and that's beautiful and it's wonderful. It's really adding to this very rich environment where you can create a great card game. That's out of our hands, though. But what can we control? What do we have agency over? It's It's the more secular aspect of it, which is what about the lore that is developed by the players that are playing? Because we're into Pro Tour 3, and Pro Tour 1 had that champion story. Pablo Pintor went 0-2 to start, and for many, that is a death sentence. That is an absolute pack it up and leave scenario. Nobody wants to start 0-2, and I suspect that a lot of players would have done the same, but he muscled through and wins the tournament on an 0-2. That is lore. That is a legacy that Pablo Pintor established at Pro Tour 1 in New Jersey. Pro Tour number 2 in France had its own, story. You had Matthew Folks, who has been heralding and beating the drum of belittle minnowism since the card was printed, as being the most busted, broken combo, or what an amazing sort of two-pack of cards that a lot of people just underestimate, and brings it to the forefront. He wins Pro Tour 2 and the cards get banned. Now, is he responsible for that? Probably not. It's just the fact that he wins a Pro Tour off the back of that combo on a Briar list, as well as Promise of Plenty and some other, really cool shenanigans that he managed to rustle together at that list. But he established a legacy in that regard within Flesh and Blood specifically of just being that guy, of being the person who identifies and sticking to his guns about certain things when perhaps others thought that maybe it was not as good as he thought. Couple that with skill, determination, practice, etc., and there you go. There's your legacy established at Pro Tour number 2. What happens at Pro Tour 3? I'm really curious, because we're coming off the back of the release of one hell of a set that has really just taken whatever meta you thought was going to exist and just upside down, etch a sketch, shake it, blank canvas, let's figure it out. Now, from Realm Brawl in Chicago to where we are right now, sure, Brody versus Levi, Azalea versus Azalea. I don't think anybody was really thinking that Azalea wasn't going to be awesome, but there she is, really crushing it and being played by Brody Spurlock. And yeah, it's Brody Spurlock, I get it, but Brody Spurlock off of a hero that he frankly built that morning or the day before, put it together, went through some of the rounds with it, and then actually takes down a massive tournament against some of the world's best players. Beat Michael Hamilton twice. Need I say more? Like, that's kind of where we're at. So Pro Tour is going to establish new legacies. It's going to add to the growing tapestry of the community and what that lore will look like. But more so than that, it's the first major snapshot of what the meta is going to look like, because everybody's going to have their initial reactions to the Realm Brawl, they're going to come with their own ideas. They're going to concoct their own schemes and piece together what they think the meta is going to look like. And we've seen how, loudmouths like myself who have podcasts, who go out there and try to prognosticate what they think the meta is going to look like, what hero is going to be represented. That's what the article is that I wrote. And I stand by what I say, but what I want to kind of add as an addendum to that whole conversation is that that's just my opinion, okay? And there is this isn't a game that is played on a massive server. Yeah, there's Talishar, but this isn't something like Magic or Hearthstone or whatever, where within the span of 24 hours, you have tens of thousands of games that are registered, so you have an instant snapshot of what people are playing, what the adaptation is to the meta, how it's evolving, etc. This is different. You have pockets of different metas everywhere that are going to be doing their best, James Bond moves to kind of infiltrate and get information. And I don't want to say it's spying. It's not that devious. It's not that malicious, but they want to get a little bit of their ear to the ground to figure out, what those rumblings are. They want to know which way the wind's blowing, so they're going to have to sort of fire off a flare and figure out what's going on in the next camp over and such. But ultimately, it's all speculation, because trust me, I know of many teams that are so secretive who are talking about this deck and this sleeper and that sleeper, and this is overrated and that's underrated. And they're all different. A lot of people have basically settled on the fact that yes, Azalea is top dog. And Dromai can be out there pushing the pace. But what about outside of that? I think Dromai is going to be good. Very difficult to pilot, but very good, very good within the meta in my opinion. But Azalea going tall and dominating things is pretty nasty. Do Guardians just kind of, I don't want to say a resurgence. They've kind of always been there. Name me a meta where Guardian hasn't had its hat in the ring. Ultimately, though, it's gonna be one or two heroes like Azalea. Azalea is your nucleus, and everything surrounding it is gonna be orbiting that, and that's kind of where we're at. So, am I gonna be right about this? I don't think I'm gonna be right about this. I don't think I'm gonna be wrong about it to a degree, but I also think that there's no way that you can just put your money down and say this person's going to be right and that person's going to be right, because it's all in flux. So I can just give you my best guess, which is that it's going to be Azalea, Dromai, and a crap ton of Guardians. You're going to have the few who are going to really stick to their laurels on Icelander and Briar. You're going to have a few ninjas that are still going to remain, which I don't think is the right move. That's just me. And then you're going to have, I said the Guardians that are going to be floating about to keep, that can kind of hurt the Dromais, deal with some of the Azaleas. But outside of that, what about the Lexis? Where are the Lexis at? I've been playing a lot of Lexi. I know that it's definitely got some legs. Some no fuse, go face, on hit, suck it up and move on kind of Lexi. It's a lot of breakpoints, it's a lot of go again, and it's a lot of on hit, which is really the concoction for a really good aggro deck. I think that Lexi might be that dark horse that surprises people. If you pilot that in the right way, if you don't get too cute with it, you can go through. And a lot of what Lexi wants to do is just not care too much about what's coming her way. It's eat damage and send it back, because eventually something's got to give. But ultimately, that's what I'm thinking about the Pro Tour from a meta perspective, with Kano just kind of lurking about. Outside of that, friends, I just want to say that if you're going to the Pro Tour, what you need to be looking forward to is the whole thing, the outside, the peripheral nonsense that goes on, the midnight drafts in the hotel lobbies, the going to the Outback Steakhouse and spending too much on the worst steak of your life, but laughing like a goon because you're there with good friends. All of that stuff. It's the Brody Spurlock with a bag full of Wonder Bread that's running around eating sandwiches like an absolute monster. It's all of that. And that's what I am more excited about, frankly, than just breaking down what the representation is of Reinars into day 2 and the conversion rate of, I don't know, Katsus from day 1 to day 2. Who cares? Who cares? Fact of the matter is, the most important element is community. And if we can just continue to just hammer that down, if we continue to nurture that, and if we continue to just come together, celebrate the game, be positive, be honest, but be positive, we can make this the best Pro Tour yet. Why not? I will see you there. Thanks for listening to Flake News.